Hi Fantasy Managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. We have put together a watch list. We've got 5 players that we've got our eye on for game week 2. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, click on subscribe. We'll be here with you for the rest of the season, team selection videos, wildcard, watch lists, all that good stuff. In the meantime, let's take a look. Let's have a look at our first player on our watch list. No surprises then. We've got Zinchenko. His price has already gone up to 5.1. He was in a lot of my drafts. I no doubt he is in a lot of people's drafts. The one reason I ended up moving him out of my draft was because he was looked like he was nailed in at that left back slot. If he was going to move into midfield, I'd been a lot more interested. But there are cheaper options in that Arsenal defence. But even at 5, if you were on him, you would have hauled in that first week. And the prospects of him in future games looks really nice. Leicester at home, Bournemouth, Fulham, 2 newly promoted sides. Then Villa, who knows what sort of form they'll be in. Or even Man United when it comes around to it. So at 5.1, he's still a good option. It's just a bit of a pain now if you haven't got him. That you've got to perhaps raise money elsewhere or move down from a 5.5. But his figures have been always pretty decent. Last year, sporadic appearances for Manchester City, mainly in that left-back area. 15 appearances, 4 assists, nothing to really write home about. 5.1 is his sort of average points per game. But that's not far off the likes of Cancelo, Trent and James. Even though it's not up there, you're not paying a premium price for it either. So Zinchenko looks decent option still at 5.1. XGI-wise, 0.25 he got last year. Again, you're paying not much, considerably less rather, for a player who's still got a decent XGI as a defender. And Arsenal look pretty solid at the back. They seem to have a bit more strength and depth. I quite like the prospect of those clean sheets, especially when you align them with those fixtures. In the one game he has played so far then, on top of those just 2 pre-season appearances where he just was desperate for minutes, Arteta said he came, the next day he was playing. Didn't get a huge pre-season, but he was launched straight in. And as we know, he got the 1 assist against Crystal Palace. Had just the 1 shot on goal. But you know what? He's a left back. I'm not expecting too many great goal returns from him. Anything's a bonus. But that assist was real good. And he obviously got the bonus points, 12 points. XGI was phenomenal. If he keeps that up, he's going to be the most prized asset in FPL. 0.68. For me, yeah, I think if I'm not prepared to transfer this week, I'm going to roll one. Otherwise, he would be top of my list, I think, of defenders to definitely look into. Because look at those fixtures, they look brilliant. And if Arsenal continue to impress, it's going to be hard to keep out the side. So he's definitely one I'm looking at for game week 3 already. Next up on our list then is another player that's really everyone's looking at, and that's Nunez. He's got some really nice fixtures. Crystal Palace at home, they've had a tough start to the season. Manchester United away, we know that they're not the force they perhaps used to be. Bad result against Brighton. How are they going to respond in a couple of weeks? They won't relish Liverpool going there. Bournemouth, Newcastle, Everton, decent fixtures again. We know obviously from his Portugal experience how prolific he was over there. 28 appearances, 26 goals, 4 assists. More sort of goal involvements than he was getting per appearances. So that's only the likes of Salah can produce that. We know it was in a lesser league. That's the only thing we can say about that. How many points he would have got per 90? Difficult to work out, but if he would have been smashing most players off the park, and especially strikers, with those sort of figures, XGI was right at the expected goal involvement, 0.93, and he exceeded that. So even Salah would have been hard to keep up with him, but he'd have been the second best asset in FPL last season if he kept those figures up. But we know, I don't think we can expect him to produce those sort of figures come the Premiership. Pre-season, had a good pre-season. He's got 5 goals, no assists. Don't mind that. We want our strikers just dealing in the currency of goals. And in one game, not even one game, in just that fraction of a game he played away at Fulham, he's really smashed it. He got 4 shots, which is the most you expect from most strikers to get in a game. He got 1 goal, 1 assist, hauled with 9 points. Really impressive. An XGI of 2.16. Wow, that's really impressive. We're not even including penalties or anything like that. The only problem I have with Nunez is, will he start because he hasn't started yet? I suspect the pressure will be from Klopp to get him started instead of Firmino. And at 9 million, if you've got the likes of Jesus, Kane, or you move to Haaland, he's quite a difficult player to get into your side. especially maybe if you're doubling up on that Liverpool defence already and you have a Diaz or Salah. So he is taking up a premium spot. Difficult to get to, but I tell you what, if he keeps these numbers up, he's going to be really hard to ignore. A little bit of a controversial one, this one coming out then. I've got Marcus Rashford at 6.5 on my watch list. He's got a decent fixture against Brentford. Then I have to say Liverpool at home is the fixture I'll be looking to avoid. Southampton and Leicester both concede goals at the moment. I don't mind targeting those fixtures. Then Arsenal at home. Rashford, if Ronaldo continues to be a little bit of a, not I'd say liability, but a little bit unsettled there, does Rashford continue to lead the line? And against Brighton, although they didn't play very well, he certainly had chances to score in that match. And that was encouraging. At 6.5, someone who's playing very far forward for Man United, even though they're not far and still scoring goals, I think he's a possibility. So I'm going to stick him on my watch list. Last year, can't very sort of flout up in any other way, did not have a very impressive season. 25 appearances, 4 goals, 2 assists. Off the back of previously really encouraging campaigns, Rashford's dropped off his levels really considerably. Nowhere near the likes you'd expect for Son, Salah, De Bruyne, but the difference this year is his price is a lot less. We're not paying 9-10 million for him, 6.5. Now, if he's playing up front for Man United, I think he's got to be in our plans. Pre-season wise, he played 5 out of 6, so he looks fairly sharp, got a couple of goals, got no issues there. He doesn't need more minutes to sort of wean himself into the season. In his one game against Brighton so far, like I said, he had some decent chances. It was flagged offside, but it would have counted if it had gone in. So he had 3 shots, and that looks good. No returns in terms of that, just picking up the 2 points. But 0.42 is still a decent XGI for a player of 6.5. So I'm not entirely ruling Rashford out. I still think he's on my watch list. Not intending on bringing him in just yet, though. Then we have Luis Diaz. Good fixtures again. We already looked at these Liverpool. We've got Palace, Bournemouth. He's a little bit more nailed in this Liverpool side at the moment, you'd say, than the likes of Núñez. 8 million. He is picking, he's sort of in that 8 million slot in midfield where you've got the likes of Mahrez, Grealish, Saka, Kulusevski. So he's battling out for a few of those. But those fixtures for Liverpool look great. 13 appearances. He came in late towards the end of last season. 4 goals, 3 assists. 6 points per 90. That's decent. Again, we're not paying Son or Salah prices or even De Bruyne. So for 8 million, he's still got a lot to offer, I think. In terms of his pre-season and his XGI, you got XGI 0.6. That looks decent as well. Again, not really up there with lots of Son, but you're not paying that much either. Pre-season wise, he got some game time. He looks sharp. He looks fine in the Community Shield. He looked decent against Fulham as well. You'd imagine with those XGI and those performances, goals and assists will come. If I'm not tripled up on Liverpool already, I think he is definitely worth looking at, and he's on my watch list already. In the one game he played against Fulham, he had a couple of shots, didn't score anything, or didn't have the assists, and is just the 2 points, like we said. His XGI not incredibly impressive, 0.18, but you know what? It's one game. I'm not going to be completely persuaded against him for that for one game. Crystal Palace at home, I could easily see him hauling. Man United away wouldn't put me off. Bournemouth and Newcastle, decent fixtures. I quite like Diaz. He's on my watch list, but again, I'm not prepared to move on him just yet. Finally, the last player we're going to have a look at is another player looked at in pre-season. Hwang. He was in a lot of drafts. 6 million just felt perhaps a little bit too expensive. Fulham at home. We've got Tottenham away, Newcastle, then you've got Bournemouth, Southampton. Some really nice fixtures, Hwang. Last season, he came in and he just hit the ground running. Wolves bought him permanently when he was on loan. Didn't really produce it towards the back end of the season. He'll play 30 games, so he's a consistent member of that Wolves side. 5 goals, 1 assist, averaging 4 points a game. It's not up there with the likes of Kane or Ronaldo Vardy. But the one strange thing about Hwang is, and I just don't really understand why, but he's listed as a midfielder. He's clearly playing up front for Wolves, and he was last year. Why he's as a midfielder, I'm a little bit baffled, but we'll live with that. He is 6 million, XGI 0.29, nothing to write home about again either. But he is going to be on penalties. He is playing up front of the Wolves side that's lacking Jimenez, and they do have some good fixtures. He's missed a little bit of the pre-season because he was away with career and he had to do service as well. But he did net a goal, and he did start the last game. And the good thing about last game, he also picked up an assist. But the fact that he took penalties in pre-season and Jimenez not about, I think that's pretty decent. I think it's a good return, and he could be right up there. 5 points he got. I think with the XGI 6 million, I think we could do a lot worse. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below, who are you looking to bring in? I think my overall feeling in terms of making a transfer in game week 2 is just roll it over. Unless there's something you really want to change and you feel that's going to make a big difference. Otherwise, I'm going to hold it. Nothing's changed in one game week. I just feel like we haven't got enough information. My decisions from the start of the season haven't altered drastically. I never booked in a transfer the first week. Going into game week 3 with 2 transfers under my belt with more information is just going to be priceless. But let me know what your plans are. In the meantime, take care. Good luck.